Welcome, Campbell. Stage 15 unpack of the Tour de France with the Stanley Street Social. My name is Alex Clements. I'm here with Campbell Flakemore. We saw a GC shake-up last night.
Yeah, there were some
Didn't
victims.
disappoint.
It disappointed a little. It wasn't a super exciting stage, but there were reasons for that. Reference the warp speed set by Jumbo Visma all day.
It was hot at the start too.
Yeah,
Let's not forget how hard it was to get in the breakaway.
Yeah, well, the whole green jersey saga was contributing to that. Peter Sagan was just being followed by Sam Bennett all day, all night, literally just following the wheel. Couldn't get anything out of it. So that took up a lot of the first bit of the race, and then a break went, and there were some people that missed out that clearly wanted to be in there.
Let's just look at how hard it was to get into that breakaway. And then to only get 4 minutes, you would be so flat. You finally made the move, boxing on for an hour and a bit to try and make this highly sought after move, and then you only get 4 minutes because Jumbo start riding and want to win the race.
We talked about that was going to be a possibility. We did say that we both tipped GC.
I think it was our pick, yeah.
We both tipped GC riders to have a showdown. And when a lot of the stage is covered by just the race, just reshuffling, then you're an extra 50 Ks closer to the finish. So you can, like we talked about, there wasn't a whole lot of valley they had to ride either, which makes things easier to control. And it wasn't a big break either. And it wasn't like of course, these guys are super riders out in the front, but it wasn't guys that were, if they got to the bottom of the climb with 2 minutes head start, were a chance. If guys like a Chavez or Pinot, maybe it could have been different, but the best climber in the front was Roll On, and it's no longer 2011 riding for Europe car. Still a super rider, no doubt. Like he's clearly moving well, but he probably needed 5 minutes at the bottom of the climb to survive. The way Jumbo Visma were ripping up the Colombier.
How hard was that first Cat 1? So steep.
Yeah. Oh man, all these nights are starting to blend into one for me. But there were parts of 20%.
See that footage of Goggle going up there? He's like zigzagging the.
Yeah. Well, 20% is properly steep. You rarely see those sort of gradients in the Tour. It's sort of more a thing for the Giro and the Welter.
The Welter special.
Traditionally.
And then we got a GC showdown on the last climb. Heading into the last climb, it was a Jumbo Visma show. They were just putting on a display.
A few things that we'll touch on. We went after NTT a little bit yesterday. So hats off to them for getting in the move. And Goggle, he was superb. He was getting dropped on the climb, coming back on the downhill. He gave it a real crack. So hats off to them. That's probably going to be the way they're going to win. They're going to have to go for a long-range sort of breakaway, opportunist kind of approach the last week. So it was nice to see them actually be part of the race.
Yeah. Anything else before we get to the last climb? Besides that shot of where the helicopter panned out, you just see pretty much the whole Jumbo Visma squad. I think Tony Martin was the only rider missing at the time, and there's only about 20 guys left in the bunch.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Robert Gesink was huge. He was absolutely huge last night. He was almost best on. He was on the front for so long. Probably his best performance of the Tour so far, and hopefully for them, it's a sign of things to come for Jumbo, because there's going to be a lot of defending this last week coming up.
How about Wout being behind Gesink in the order of the order of play?
He dropped Bernal.
The guy that wins bunch sprints, like
this guy. I mean, we're never going to know how good Eddie Merckx was, because I don't know whether there was any footage in the 60s or 70s whenever he was winning races. But this guy, could he win the Tour de France? Like, could he win Grand Tours and go and win 10 stages while he's at it, win the bunch kicks, win the time trials, win the mountaintops? Like, it's it's not that wild. He was there with 20 guys to go, shelling off Quintana and Bernal, who clearly weren't at the top of their game. But in 4 or 5 years' time, when this guy's had enough of winning Roubaix, etc., he really could go for it because he can time trial. He was winning Dauphiné time trials.
He's 25.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Maybe.
I mean, he could do whatever he wants. Whatever he wants to do, he can go and do it.
Yeah.
And it felt like he had more in the tank as well. It wasn't like he went to like proper exhaustion. He
was climbing.
He finished with Bernal.
Yeah, so he did the tap, and then he just rolled back and hooked onto Bernal's group. And when I say hooked on, they're going up a climb. It wasn't like they're tapping on the flats. So, oh man, I wonder what his contract's worth now. I wonder what it was worth pre this year versus now. Because last year he was hot. Like last year we're all about him. But him and Van der Poel were kind of head and head. And Van der Poel's performance at Amstel Gold kind of really got him the kudos, I guess, the level up. But this year, oh my goodness. Yeah. Van der Poel actually picked up a win last night. But
he did.
But his performance at the Tour and every race before the Tour has been out of control. He'd be worth an absolute diamond now.
Yeah, well, like we just talked about, whatever he wants to do, he can do. Obviously, he's happy doing the job at Jumbo right now. And look, if someone said he was going to win the Tour de France next year, you'd probably say, hang on, not quite just yet. But 4 or 5 years down the track, he's getting ready for it. Look out.
Win it in a Geraint Thomas style in the seat, just munching a massive gear. Just strong as, can look after his own. You're not going to have to worry about protecting him in the crosswinds to lose time. No. He's probably going to win the sprint.
Yeah,
he'll probably win off time bonuses off winning bunch kicks.
Yep, it's ridiculous. Like he's Geraint Thomas. He kind of like he muscles a big gear and looks like he's kind of using strength. But Van Aert, he's just so smooth. He runs a high cadence and. Last night was incredible. Imagine coming through on the radio, you've just dropped Bernal. He would be thinking, this road cycling is just...
Yeah, it's too easy.
This is an easy caper.
Yeah, exactly. We've got a question coming about Sagan. Do you want to touch on that first? I'm going to wrap up the stage.
Wrap up the stage. I think we're almost there because really the last climb we were expecting some carnage, but we didn't get it because the warp pace being set by Jumbo-Visma, it almost would have been suicidal to attack. Yeah, Adam Yates had a crack, but he was off the front for maybe 800, 900 meters. And when you got big Tommy D just mowing you down, it's kind of you're just wasting your energy on the front. But it was good. It was good to see him have a crack. He was the only one. And he clearly didn't go all in because once he got brought back, he managed to sit in the wheels and finish with the front guys. But no one else had a crack, and you can't blame them, I don't think.
Well, we look at last year's Tour leader and Quintana not too much later, getting dropped with 13 kilometers to go. They've only got 4K into the last climb and gone, you know what, this is too hard. That's how quick they were going.
Yeah.
And they still had Bennett, Kuss. That was when Wout was on the front. And last year's Giro d'Italia winner, Tommy D. Like,
I don't think we've touched on that enough that Tom Dumoulin is a workhorse. Like he is there. Like, yeah, you can see him. He's still racing quite hard once he does his job. I mean, he's still in the top 10. You can see he's still working pretty hard to get across the line. But this is a guy who has won a Grand Tour, who is still, what is he, 29? It's not like he's an old guy and he's kind of just doing the job to set up his retirement. This guy is like still in that window of being able to win these Grand Tours, and he's working for Roglic. I think that's gone quite underrated so far because he was just incredible last night. No one could attack. I'm not sure what the power they were doing. Tommy D probably just sitting on 440 watts, just moving. No one's coming around that for a significant period of time anyway.
Also, to your point, it just puts so much of a grey haze over the rest of the group because you go, well, if I attack, like, what's to gain? Like, there's no benefit of the riders behind looking at each other going, oh, what's going on here? It's just, if you got Tommy D hooking on the front, and if he becomes unstuck, you've got Seth Kuss, who was running at about half of his threshold.
He was in second gear last night.
Yeah. He hadn't
wasn't
even
required. He wasn't even required. That's how strong this team was, man. And it wasn't like they only had to ride the last 40K.
No.
They controlled the whole day with riders to spare. It was one of the most dominant performances I can remember. Really, never seen Ineos or Sky do this sort of caper, but last night was good. And I don't know, when Sky were doing it, people were kind of like, "Oh, this is shit. Like, this is a bit boring." But is it a bit different that there's another team doing it? It's not quite as flattening.
Well, I don't think Sky were boring at the start. They weren't boring in their first year. It was their third and fourth and fifth year that it was like, oh, this is a bit how you going. I think, it's a bit boring. It's like, I don't know, I always look at it and go, what if George Bennett was on another team? What if Tommy D was on another squad? What if Seth Kuss could ride it on his own? Like, it's the same story as when you looked at Ineos when there was Port and Pools and Froome was doing the job for Wiggins. You look down the list and you go, well, all three of those guys could qualify on their own to be genuine team leaders. It's the same story here. I think it's hot for like a couple of years and then everyone goes, what's going on? But I guess after a couple of years too, it starts to become a budgeting issue as to if they can actually keep the riders.
That's the thing. I mean, guys like Kuss, especially, what's he, 25? He's thinking, well, if I can still be here, why don't I try and do it myself and try and win this race myself, get paid a little bit more to be a leader? But as we know, with that extra pressure and expectation, some people, they're not quite up to it. It's a different kettle of fish mentally, having to be that GC man every day. With Kuss, he can, if he's not feeling it one day or in the crosswinds doesn't fancy it, he can stop. But when you're the man, you got to be on it every day, and that's what makes the top guys just that cut above.
Well, what Caleb said, it took 2 hours after he won his stage to get from winning the stage through everything to back at the hotel.
Yeah,
every day,
every night.
Do the presser. You got. Yeah, it's so much work. So much work. But it's got to be, especially in some of those younger guys, it's got to be in the back of their mind.
Yeah, no
especially
doubt.
when you get a big juicy check slapped on the table. And also, I don't know the ins and outs of Jumbo's financials, but I don't imagine they have the buying power that Ineos has.
Well, I was actually on their website last night, just looking at some heights of riders, etc. And they have like a speed skating team as well, like under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
So I feel like, if they just wanted to cut that off and just put that money into cycling, I'm sure they could. But I don't know. They don't seem like a team that's short on a dime. Let's be clear on that. I think, yes, they've got that sort of Northern European efficiency, but I also think they're not short of cash. Do you want to talk about a little bit about? There's two more things I want to discuss. Is just the final 500, and also Bernal. What now for Ineos? He lost 6 or 7 minutes last night. Where to now? What was it? 7:20 they were down.
Yeah, where to now? Well, there's obviously, I don't know. Do you think there's something wrong, or he's just out of nick? He just hasn't come in the kind of condition of last year.
I mean, did any of us have him on the podium at the start of the tour in our pre-pod with Max? You did. Okay. Did you have him winning or just on the podium?
Yeah, I had him winning.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. I just didn't see it. Just the team selection just didn't ooze quality like previous years. Having to pull out of the Dauphiné with problems. The Tour de France, you got to be just at the top of your game. You can't have 1 or 2% off. Your team's got to be elite. And a few of those things are just a couple of % off this year. And I don't think he's as bad as what he was last night. It seemed like his head fell off a little bit. I mean, imagine going from winning last year, being the strongest guy there, to like suffering, and there's still 5 jumbo guys there and 20 guys in the bunch. It can't be good for your head if you're like already on the edge. So
yeah,
I don't think he's as bad as 7 minutes down, but he's clearly not in condition to be on the podium this year.
But you look at their performance, and that flows throughout the squad. That's not just Bernal slightly off. You look at even like Dylan Van Baal last night. He was like hooking all last year. Yeah, he's not going rubbish, but he's not at quite that level.
I don't think Carapaz is anywhere near the level he was at the Giro. Not near the level they probably would have expected him to be. Sivakov had a crash, and then they've got Castrovallejo and Amador, who are sort of those hybrid kind of riders. So it was just the squad selection was a little bit weird. And Geraint Thomas he's moving okay over in Italy, so maybe that's a bit of a hey Dave, should have picked me up. I was good.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see if Geraint was actually flat, or this is what he wanted.
I guess we'll find out soon. And Giro, he's going to be doing the Giro, I guess. But yeah,
we'll probably touch on this in the last kilometre, but Richie Porte, it's time to get excited, Campbell.
A little bit. I think podium.
I feel like a D supporter in 2018. That's what I feel like.
A D supporter in the last 2 decades.
But a little bit in a sense. Like Richie Porte's career, it feels the same. So much passion for it, so much
promise, so much excitement.
So much excitement around it. And it's never really got to where you wanted it to be. But last night you were like, ooh.
I reckon so. We're about at the same stage when who do they beat in the semi-final in 2018 and that preliminary final weekend?
They were heading over to the West.
Just that kind of excitement is where we're at now with Richie Porte. Like, we're playing
back to back at the G,
back to back finals
at 80,000,
and we've got a prelim this weekend. That's what it feels like with Richie, and he is a genuine chance for this podium. I think last night he probably showed, and the Hilltop 2 nights ago, that he's probably the 3rd strongest climber here behind the 2 Slovenian bros. And with that time trial lurking as well, red hot chance for a podium. Elizondo is climbing well, and obviously the guys are motivated. Pedersen's good there on the flats, so I like that analogy, Alex.
Rigo has just helped himself onto the podium last night.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? Has he gone in the front of the? Has he been in the first 10 wheels all tour?
I think he's been about. No, he's been 10th all tour. That's where he's.
All tour.
Yeah, he's just been running 10th.
That's redonk at 134, isn't it?
This is the most Rigo thing ever.
We're 15 stages in and he's 3rd. Like, it's ridiculous. I don't mind it. I also saw a tweet: doesn't run a heart rate strap, doesn't run power, just on touch and feel. That bit of that South American flair.
Yeah, and Colombian passion. Just run feel of the country behind him. Have you heard that it was going around on Twitter when one of the Colombians won or was up on the GC, but there's this radio call from Colombia and there is so much energy in the gym.
When Martinez won.
Martinez won. Yeah, that's when it was from. Oh, so good.
Yeah. So much passion.
That's what Rigo's running off. Well, that's why you don't need a heart rate strap.
Remember we saw that footage of the Tour of Colombia or whatever it was the first year? Like the crowds was just 10 deep for 150K. They're just mad for it. Speaking just quickly before we just get to the end of the stage, which we've been talking about for 20 minutes.
The 5-minute daily unpacks.
The incident with Higuita and Youngles in the early stages of the race, where do you sit on it? Youngles has apologised. I think he's probably Seen it, realised
It
it.
was super unlucky.
Like
it was that Higuita just slightly glances over his shoulder as Youngles chops right.
It was an aggressive chop from Bob, though, wasn't it?
It was a little bit it was very unnecessary actually when you look at it. But also at the same time, it caught him just as he's glanced right. Because you think if he was like on the ball looking forward, he'd almost be able to save it.
Yeah, I think so.
Carry momentum, but because he glanced right a touch, he came unstuck. And also it was like at that weird stage where, when the bunch goes, you know what, this breakaway is not sticking. Everyone in the breakaway sits up, or that move that's trying to get off the front. And there's just a lull. There's lots of looking around. There's lots of what's going on next. I think it was Bob Jungle's fault for mine.
Yeah, and he came out and said it on the Twitter, but
yeah,
it was a little bit of both. It was probably 80% Youngles, 20% Higuita, like you said. The turning of the head's never a good idea, but the swinging off was very aggressive. But hopefully
you normally can get away with the head turn, trusting that every rider is not going to chop in front of you. Anyway, yeah. Super unlucky.
Yeah. Last 500 meters. Let's go.
500 meters. I'm just trying to think back. Where did Richie go? Richie went with about 300 to go.
Yeah. Roglic attacked as well. The whole idea was that was the plan. Obviously, Sepp Kuss was sitting on the wheel of Roglic to just give him that extra bike length when he went. And I
know we touched on this a lot, but with 500 meters to go, they've still got a rider that hasn't done one tap.
Yeah,
that's just sitting there. He's just a passenger.
That's how strong they were. But Roglic, I don't think he was. People were like, "Oh, did he give the stage to Pogačar?" I don't think so. I don't think everyone's giving.
Who said he gave the stage to Pogačar?
Oh no one said it, but it's like he could, it was a bit of that, like, oh, you're Slovenian, I'm in the yellow jersey, we're bros. Like, you can see how people might have thought, did he give him a stage? No,
not
he
all.
didn't. This is a goddamn Tour de France stage.
I don't think you can win enough Tour de France stages and go, you know what, I'm just gonna, give this one to the countrymen.
Team had been riding for 4 hours. Bonuses at the finish. Pogačar coming in hot. So no, he didn't. But there was a genuine little bit of a grimace from Roglic across the finish line compared to 2.
Yeah, there was
2 days ago when he was in a robo mode.
Yeah, there was emotion.
A little bit. The first time that we've seen just a genuine grimace from this guy, and was that a bit of a realization, like, Jesus, I'm in a genuine dogfight now. Like, this guy's strong. This Pogačar is strong.
40 seconds off the mark now too. It's not it's not out. It's not a minute 30. A minute 30 seems awfully comfortable. 40 seconds seems within striking range. Also, there is no way that he was not trying to win that stage, because his team's just done a tap for the last 50 kilometers.
Yeah,
and he's going full noise at the end of the stage for another, what would have been 4 seconds advantage over his main rival, and then over the rest of the climbing contingent. He didn't win that stage.
Yeah, no, yeah, that was win. Pogačar, no doubt, no doubt about it. Richie at 5 seconds, and then Lopez 8, and then kind of the rest of the boys at 15 seconds. So a few little gaps starting to appear, but I think you can probably go all the way down to Rigo, and there's no one outside that top 9 that's coming to take those spots. Valverde, 40 years of age, still in the front. actually 40. He's actually 40 years of age.
Doing a good role in support of Mas, who was solid.
Yeah.
He's just found his way into the top 10. Landa, this is real. This is going to be real interesting. This bracket from Uran to Lopez to Yates to Port to Landa. Yates still 5th, 2 minutes down. Is that going for stage wins turn to going to stage win / trying to move our way up the general / going long on mountain passes against the GC rivals?
Not too sure. Like we talked about, he's too close to the yellow jersey to be let go up the road with no sort of care for him. And Mitchelton, they were hunting the breakaway last night big time. The group had gone after 30 seconds and they were still trying to launch guys over, desperado sort of mode. So clearly there was a big focus for them to get in the break. They missed it. They were looking to get a guy like Chavez in there. They didn't get it. So that still looks like they're going for stages. But the way that Yates was climbing last night.
Do you get to a point now where you go, all right, look, Yates is at 2 minutes. Here's a genuine chance. You could say that Yates could very possibly finish on the podium in Paris.
Of course.
And let's just get rid of this facade that we're going for stage wins, or even they actually probably are based off what they were doing last night, trying to get people in the move. But let's just go all in for this guy.
Yeah.
He's moving. That move that he did last night, it was long range, which I liked. It was just with Tommy D there. If that happened with Primoz, not exposed, but just with the solo or even with one rider, solo, let's say solo, and his rest of his climbing companions there, it's a different move. Yates is on.
Yeah, I agree big time.
Anything else?
I don't think so. Not on stage 15 anyway. What are we doing? Read the rest of the race. We're going to talk about it now, or
I reckon we'll just talk about it tomorrow. We'll talk about it in the podcast.
Yeah. Roger.
We got a couple of questions. Adam on YouTube says, what were the South American commentators saying? Who knows? But they were awfully excited.
We were more just referencing the excitement and the passion.
The energy.
Yeah, big energy in the gym.
Rigo energy. That's what that guy's running off. Does Sagan have the legs to beat Bennett? He's looked sluggish in several intermediates by comparison. So sluggish that he's normally not even picking up second place.
Well, I think it's pretty clear head-to-head. Just sprints, he's not going to beat him. So he's going to have to go for the traditional Sagan approach, which they've done successfully a couple of times.
Yeah, maybe that's a piece of research for the rest day is what the intermediates look like for the rest of the tour. And is it Sagan enough? Because it needs to be hard. But it's also like...
I can tell you quickly, stage 16 isn't. Stage 17 isn't. Stage 18 isn't. So this is looking very... I think
Bennett's going to win the jersey.
Bennett's going to win this jersey. The only real chance is maybe stage 19, a little bit bumpy, but I think Bennett's got enough of a gap now. But yeah, there's
I think that's the message that Sagan's the better climber, but Bennett's not far behind, and he's not too far behind that it's impossible for him to hang on to green. And then also he will be the hot favourite to clean him up in the sprint on the Champs-Elysees.
I think, really, Sagan's best bet is for Bennett to just not get through the tour, to get time cut on one day. That's really all we can hope for now.
Cool.
Any
intel on who's coming on the podcast tonight? Get a response? As the Connect?
Not yet. I think we'll be all right. We'll get Caleb on again, hopefully, and we can hopefully go through the analysis of his second stage win, and how the last couple of nights have been in the mountains, because it's looked absolutely awful on TV.
True. So yeah, podcast tonight, hopefully, pending, and then
that won't be live. It'll be released tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, depending how late we do it, hopefully get it out tonight. And then we'll be back tomorrow off. We can do a preview tomorrow.
Yeah,
we'll see how we're going. May as well hang around. We've come this far.
Yeah.
We didn't actually finish that conversation. The comments just come in. will Ineos have an approach for stage wins now?
I think so.
Like surely it's all over.
Yeah. I mean, unless just yesterday was some sort of bad day, but given the first 14 days, I don't think Bernal is going to pop back up and drop Roglic. So I think so. Kwiatkowski probably looks the strongest. The strongest rider there. Carapaz maybe as well, but I think Kwiatkowski, he's won some big races in his time, this guy, and he's really just embraced the sort of team captain and domestic at Ineos. So I'd love to see Kwiatkowski get released up the road and go for some stage wins. So it's a bit of a new tactic for Ineos. I think 2011 when Wiggins crashed out, Eddie the Boss won a couple of stages. Whenever Froome crashed out, 2014, 15 when Vincenzo won, I'm sure they were doing the same thing. So yeah, for sure Kwiatkowski and Carapaz will be released.
Cool. All right. I'll see you later on for a podcast tonight.
Yeah.
We'll see everyone tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. And yeah. Ciao.
Thanks.